Hey YouTube, this is Edition34. This is Budget Friday, and I have a budget deck for you. This is based on the Reuniclus from Plasma Blast, for the most part. Reuniclus, for those of you not familiar with him, he is 100 HP, he is a Stage 2, he has a 2 energy retreat cost, he's weak to other Psychic Pokemon, and for 1 Psychic Energy, he can hit you for 30 damage and prevent the next 30 damage dealt to him by an attack next turn. And he also has an attack called Telekinesis of Nobility that is for 1 Psychic and 2 colorless. It hits for 70, and then you switch him with one of your benched Pokemon. And one of the reasons I decided to focus on what I shall call the Noble Reuniclus, just because why not, with his Telekinesis of Nobility, is because he reminds me a lot of Gengar EX. Gengar EX does a hit-and-run attack for the same cost that deals 60 damage instead of 70, but it also poisons your opponent. And thinking about that, I thought, with that, and Gengar EX, and Donphan, and those sort of hit-and-run tactics actually being pretty cool, which Palkia EX managed to pull off a little bit before that, I thought, this guy could actually maybe have some value, and he's a very budget card, so, you know what, why not? Why not build around this guy? Now, that said, we're running 3 copies of that Reuniclus, but we are running 1 copy of the Legendary Treasures Reuniclus. He has 10 less HP, an attack that lets you resort the top 5 cards of your deck and put them back any way you want, and the one thing that kind of distinguishes him and makes him kind of cool is his net force attack. It's only 1 Psychic Energy, but it deals 40 damage times the number of Reuniclus you have in play. Our deck is built to kind of get Reuniclus up and going quickly, so this guy is an interesting alternative you can search for if you can get a lot of Reuniclus up at the same time, as he can hit for 120 or even 160 if you can get a decent number of Reuniclus up. So this guy's a nice little surprise offensive feature that the deck has, and I thought it was just a little too cool to throw that away. So that's why we're teching 1 of him. We're running 1 Duocean because we're mostly relying on rare candy, but it's nice to be able to Ultra Ball or such things in order to maybe get our evolution up. This is the slightly better Duocean, although honestly neither Duocean that's available right now is that great. But he does have 60 HP, which is already kind of a little ookie making. And we're running 4 Soloses. Now all the Soloses that are available all have 30 HP, and their attacks are all pretty horrible. We've opted for this one because in a tight spot you can give him 1 Psychic and he has a coin toss chance of taking no effective attacks during the next turn. So, at least he might theoretically buy you a turn, whereas the others can only attack for minor amounts of damage. So, that's something, although this guy being 30 HP, obviously he's kind of a liability, especially early game. So, that said, we're going to try to find our ways around it. Once again, the draw power of the deck is key. We're running 1 Bide Barricade Wobbuffet, just because he's something to switch into with your Telekinesis of Nobility, just like you would with Gengar EX. Shuts off everything except the abilities of Psychics, which is fine, because it's everybody in this deck who has an ability is Psychic. We are running 1 Sigilif. I realize this printing of the card is not budget, but there is a very inexpensive printing that does exist, the Safeguard Sigilif, so that's fine. This is the only one I had available, so I just grabbed this one anyway. But he's another thing to switch into because of his Safeguard. He doesn't take damage from EXs or other effects for that matter, so he's a nice thing to retreat into. And we're running 2 copies of Miltank here, the Flashfire Miltank, just because for 1 energy it can hit for 80 damage if you've got a Stage 2, and that's quite nice because, of course, obviously we're relying on Reuniclus. So this thing is a nice little beefy hitter, and we're trying to emphasize the ability to hit KO pretty much anything, and Miltank helps us in that endeavor. That said, those 13 are all our Pokemon. We run 14 supporters, which are 4 Sycamore, because like I say, we're just trying to draw like crazy in this deck. So pitch, draw 7, sounds good to me. The rest of the draw power, I've kind of mixed it up, and you can mix and match. I'm running 2 N, 2 Shauna, because I like this card, and I think it deserves a little more attention. It's always 5 cards no matter what, even late game. So I wanted to try it, but you can always opt for the 1 or both of these to turn into N. And we're also running 2 copies of Colress, because we've got, while our Pokemon count might seem limited, we do have some Robo-Subs in here that can also get us, that count as basic Pokemon, so they can help us kind of rack things up. So hopefully that'll be useful. We're running 2 copies of Skylex. We do have a few trainers we really want to hit. but primarily it's just drawing cards in general. We're looking for Pokemon and energy as much as we are for other things, so just the 2 Skyless. We're running 1 Lysander. This is more of a versus Seeker target than anything, but it can be useful, especially late game, so we are running the 1. And we're running 1 Lysander's trump card. A number of decks are kind of, they don't like this card. It can mess them up, like the Metal deck, and Fire decks don't especially care for it because it messes up Blacksmith. Things like that there, and it royally screws Night March. Not that that's very common, but it does exist. And this helps us reload to keep our Reunicluses going if they get knocked out early and stuff like that, or we're forced to discard them. It's a nice reset button, so we are going to include 1 copy of it. We're running 20 other trainers. 4 of them are rare candies. Another pretty easy to access card, but we do need rare candy just to make sure we get up to Reuniclus quickly and easily, and Duocean's not really that great, so that's why we're just skipping and going straight up to Reuniclus. We're running 3 Dimension Valley to help make our attacks much more efficient, because Reuniclus attacks for just 2 energy of any kind, basically, when you've got this out there, so it's very handy, and it also gets rid of other people's stadiums, which is very nice. We're running 3 copies of Robo Substitute because it's a great card to run away into when you use Telekinesis of Nobility, because they can't score knockouts off of it, they can't really do much of anything to it, so that's very nice. We're running 3 copies of Ultra Ball, because once again, this is all about getting up to Reuniclus as quickly as possible, because Solosis is very frail. So we're trying to get up and running and hitting people just as fast as we can, and having the right Pokemon at the right time is crucial to that. We're running 2 Versus Seeker. This means that, yes, we can use Lysander's trump card in an endless loop to never deck out, which is kind of cool, and it means we never run out of any other given card we want, because we can always restock it. But this also makes sure that we hopefully hit a supporter every single turn and constantly feed our hand and constantly get new resources. That's the idea here. We are running 1 Professor's Letter just to kind of help us get energy, and it's a good Skyla target, and that's part of the reason for that. We have 2 Muscle Bands. We're not really emphasizing the damage too very much because we're once again trying to 2-hit KO stuff, but just drop 1 of these on your Reuniclus that's meaning to do damage and don't bother dropping the other one until then. That way Megaphone is less likely to happen, and if it does, you got a backup. But Trump card helps get around any potential loss of muscle bands. That's why we're only opting for 2. We do have 2 switches. This is just to defend ourselves in case we get statused or something like that. That's very unpleasant, and we really need to get out of dodge. This is our way to do it. And that said, we're opting for just 13 energy. It should be all we need here with our draw power. We're running 4 Mystery Energy, of course. This gives basically everybody in the deck gets pretty much free retreat cost off of this. It doesn't work on Miltank because you can't attach it to Miltank, but that's fine because if Miltank goes up active, she's not going to come down unless she gets knocked out, basically. That's the idea for the most part, and we do have Switch in case. This is just to help like Wobbuffet and Sigillif run away. We're running 2 double colorless energies because we don't really need more because of our Dimension Valley, but this is a nice thing to have in case that doesn't quite work out. And then we're running 7 basic psychic energies just to make sure that we get our attacks off and pay our costs and so on and so forth like that. And that's the deck. Now, if you want to add a little money to it, one of the first cards I'd recommend is an Ace Spec, and Computer Search is easily the best one just because we have to hit cards and hit them early and reliably, and Computer Search really helps us accomplish that. So it would definitely be the Ace Spec of choice because Dowsing Machine is somewhat limited in what it can target sometimes, whereas Computer Search should theoretically always be able to get you that thing you need. Another option for adding money is Mewtwo. Dimension Valley makes his Psy Drive a pretty attractive attack. And of course X-Ball is pretty good, and we do have DCs, and you could maybe run in another DCE if you decide to run Mewtwo EX or 2. And last but not least, we do have a Gengar EX. Now we can run him. He basically does the same thing as Reuniclus, so in some ways he's not necessarily as attractive a card to run. But since he fits the theme so well, you could run 1 or 2, and that'd be fine. And his fighting resistance is very welcome as well. So, there you go. And that is the Noble Reuniclus deck. And so, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool Pokemon content.